Hi,
How's that?
it's Heather Smith here, and I am here with Stephen Maxwell, and he's about to show me how to use Employment Hero. Hi, Stephen.
Hello, Heather. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you going?
Yeah, today's been a lot of fun. It's great to be spending a bit of time with you. Um,
Fabulous.
Today, we're going to take you through the Employment Hero payroll side of the platform. So this is very much centered around, the payroll manager, the payroll processor within an accounting or bookkeeping firm that is white labeling our Employment Hero payroll solution. And yeah, we're going to talk through a lot of the functionality, how things work, and yeah, very interactive session.
Fantastic.
Beautiful. All right, I'm going to switch screens over. I'm going to go to my demo account. So Heather, this is a white label version, so you can customize the logos, colors, and everything within the payroll file to meet your client or your business requirements. Now, open disclosure, this is my demo account, so I put all funky colors and stuff because everyone's always in my branded solution. So I like to go a little bit strange. And my demo file is actually all Hogwarts themed because my wife's a massive Harry Potter fan. Um,
Pleasing your wife in the payroll.
Absolutely, yes. Apparently, a few people changed some spelling of some names sometimes, and my wife picked up on it straight away. So you'll definitely hear some references throughout it.
She can cast a spell on them.
Yay, that's good. I like that. That's a clever one. Um, but look, let's talk through the solution, right? So when you jump in for the first time, you'll notice a couple of things. So at the top, your URL is a your payroll URL. So it's centered around your accounting firm. So we could do heathersmith.yourpayroll.com.au as an example, something unique to you. But when you get into the individual file, you're greeted with all of the information that surrounds the business. So what have we paid in the financial year? What action items of note need to be taken in? So my award needs to be updated, or employees have pending expense requests. I have a new employee, but their details aren't completed. So you're given that straight away. Underneath, you've got all of your employees, all of your current pay runs, both historical and what's about to be done, any approved leave, a plethora of reporting, and we won't click on everything today, and then also a lot of payroll settings. And all of this is also down the left-hand side. So you've got sort of access to everywhere you need to go from here. Couple of call outs, as we know, Heather, managing awards and managing employee pay, when awards change and all those sort of things. Having it here is a really big advantage in that respect. When the award is updated or due to be updated, we push that notification to you in the back end for the payroll setting. And we'll talk through that process and workflow. Within our platform, what we ensure we do is the way it's designed is everything is built really around the location. So where somebody can work within the organization, and then the employee themselves and the award or agreement in which they are paid under. So I'm going to start with where you can work within the business, so your locations. So my locations are all built out in a hierarchy. So Hogwarts School is my core location, but I have different areas within Hogwarts that people can work. And I want to track that. That could be for job costing, that can be for general ledger purposes, whatever it may be. Cleaning department, head of house, head of school, etc., etc. It's when I get down further that I've got a teaching department, and I've got defense against the dark arts, which is one of the classes, but I've got first year and second year. Now, if these different locations draw different shift conditions, or they have different reporting lines for the students, I can put my employees to work in those locations and then report that back. I've also got a piece of functionality turned on that means that anyone that works in a teaching department in one of those sub-locations reports up to the teaching department too. So I get from a payroll perspective, a holistic look of that location. You link your teaching department back to your GL, and also really important, you call out the state and country that location is. The reason for that is that it pulls in payroll tax and it pulls in public holidays. So it's all automated. You don't have to, when you're doing your roster out for different states, you don't have to worry about factoring in those. And the award interpreter also takes those into consideration as well. So very cool.
What you're saying is it will automate payroll tax for us, the whole process of payroll tax?
The calculation, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. I'll show you it a bit later too.
And I think Queensland would like the defence against dark ants at the moment.
Yeah,
We have a bit of a fire ant problem in the area.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'm in North Brisbane, so not as bad for me, but yeah, I saw it actually. It's
coming. They've been 4 cases. We're worried.
Oh no, that's not good. But yes, so around your locations, if you do have default shift conditions that apply to those locations, you can have those automatically attached. And you can then also limit the number of employees that can see a particular location as well. So really good example is like a chef. So maybe you have night chef, day chef in a restaurant, for example. Night chef might get a dinner allowance and day chef get a lunch allowance at different prices or different rates. So you can set those as conditions of that shift.
Mm-hmm.
So once we've set up our locations, we then want to bring in our award and our employees so we can start paying our staff appropriately. So we'll start with the awards. So within Employment Hero Payroll, we have over 50 awards, cover approximately 80% of the working market with the available awards in our system. You go in, you search for the award, you install the award, and then the award becomes available to you and is applied at the entire organizational level. So you can see here that we have 5 or 6 that have been installed. Only one employee can be attached to one award, but as we know, multiple businesses have multiple awards. So we install them and have them there available for each employee. And
is that something that you then... The reason you don't have all of them is that sort of slowing down the solution or confusion?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of reasons. So number one, just the number of awards, it takes time to build them all out, and the way the automation needs to be applied for certain unique scenarios within that award. Good example is like the construction award. When you work with a construction client, they usually have a large number of variations to the core function of the award, might even fall under an EBA in some respects. So that agility doesn't make the award templated as such. We support it in different ways. So we'll use the frameworks that we have around the construction award and then support you in building out those unique scenarios. So yeah, nothing around infrastructure support or those sorts of things. It's more award agility, if I were to frame it that way.
Mm-hmm.
The award is then updated and maintained by us as well. So when the award is due to be updated, you simply come in, you get your notification on the front screen, come in and apply those updates. We give you a few options here. So if as an organization, you manually assign your pay rates because you pay XX over or XX differently, you can stop and not update certain rates of pay. Same with rule sets if you're customizing all those sort of things. But you would just simply install that update and that will then take a couple of minutes and your award will be updated. I'll let that do its thing. How it would then look is you would come into your pay rate templates. We'll grab the cleaning services award. And then all of your pay rate templates will then be updated, including your hours, any overtime, or any additional allowances that would be taken into consideration should the situation arise. So all of them are all updated and available to the employee. What we then do is we bring in our employees. So once your employees are then in the system, and you can see all my wonderful Hogwarts-based employees here, we then attach that award to that employee. So all can be done in bulk as part of an import. We'll see in our pay run defaults, we have our cleaning services award. So we select it. We have our agreements. This one's a casual, level 2, cleaning services, Money Myrtle, where she lives, it's very appropriate. And she is timesheeted for all of her work. What would then happen is her rate of pay is come in and it's locked. You can override if you do want to pay additional for just this employee. But as we look back to our award, everything is based off that template. All of our normal awards, any rule sets and everything are all automatically applied, as well as a schedule for her pay. So how that looks from a pay rate perspective is that all of those rates of pay we showed earlier in the template are then applied to the employee. And if you override at the employee file level, it will be applied here. So we can see here things like cold work allowance or first aid allowance. If we've got anything like lending hand or those sorts of things, all can be applied if the situation arises where that's required. So all good to go. From here, Moaning Myrtle has her locations. Where in the business can she work? Any leave allowances. So if you have your own custom ones, you can bring those in too for the individual business or unique scenarios. But again, she's casual. We've got no leave here, and any pay run inclusions as well. So these can all be set up and applied at the employee level. I'm going to call out a couple of them. So we'll start with expenses. So if you have an expense that comes out via every single week, no matter what, and say it's $100 per pay run for training fees. Moaning Myrtle doesn't need training. She's perfect the way she is, but come with me. Put on in a tax code for your training. It'll start today and it will expire on either a date if it's agreed to or after amount has been reached.
Mm-hmm.
So say $1,000 has to be reached in order for that expense to come out. So you set up that level of automation for the expense. For things like deductions, we can do a very similar workflow. In deductions, we can do something a little bit different where we can do preserved earnings. So for example, I have a client who, with his new tradies, he buys them like $1,000 worth of tools out of the gate to give them a bit of a start, but he will take a deduction from their pay, but he preserves their earnings. So once a set amount of wages have been earned, then the deduction will come in. So it means the employee can still earn. If they don't do that many hours in the week being an apprentice, they're not disadvantaged. So very, very cool in that sense. Same thing can be done with your additional earnings. If these are ones that need to be applied every single week or every single pay run, can be all set up and good to go. Essentially from here, your employees are all ready to be paid for any work that they do. Any questions, Heather? Pretty straightforward.
No, it's all looking very slick.
Excellent. Okay, so let's go set some staff up to pay them some fake money, which is the joy part of my world. So within our solution, we have a full rostering and time and attendance functionality. So it can, in some cases, replace the technology you currently use. In other cases, we recommend you stay where you are. It's what's best fit for the client. There's all import options and other things available. When you're setting up a roster, you basically come in here and you can set filters around what you do and don't see and how those employees appear for you. So for the purpose of this, if you want to come in and assign a shift to an employee, you click on the time and date, click on the employee and apply that particular shift. You can do the same thing with different times. You can do the same thing with different employees. If you have a skeleton that you work off, like a template or something, you can come in and build your template in our rostering template solution and then import that in. So we'll grab our standard template, apply that and bring that into the roster. And it will then generate all the shifts for the employee. I recommend with some of my clients, we do this at the sort of your core employees that you know are always in those particular locations. Set a secondary template up for your unassigns. So these will be these ones down here. And then you can drag those shifts into the employees in that area, for example. All the employees on the left-hand side, it's their primary location they work, that's where they appear. But if they are in a secondary location down here, you can always assign that shift to them too. So you don't have to limit that in any way. But what we're going to do is we'll also get, we'll talk a little bit about a bit of budgeting here. So I'm just going to assign a shift to Money Metal, nice long shift. So what we've done here is assigned Money Metal a shift, and we can see that the
Now, come on, it would have started at 6 if she's going to 11. Long shift. I'm only kidding.
Great call out. No, she worked very hard, Money Myrtle. She's one of my favorites. So what we've done is we've assigned a shift 6 till 11, and the award interpreter's kicked in, and it's looked at everything that Money Myrtle's eligible for in her shift, and it's given you an estimate on what she's likely to earn if she follows this to a T. Clocks in at 6, clocks out at 11. And it'll break down when casual overtime kicks in her space. So very, 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 very cool from the award interpreter side of things, and gives you the ability then to do things like budgeting. You can do things like look at potentially what she's going to earn for the week, what the location's going to earn, or what that day is going to, what that location is going to cost, or what that day is going to cost in terms of wages and the amount of assigned hours. So from a rosterer's perspective, you're given a really good window into what's about to happen, and you can report that accordingly, which is, I think, really, really cool. So it's a big thing that the rosterers that I work with find a lot of value in. Down the left, we've also got a nice little legend here. So things like unavailability or any approved leave will come into the roster and block out those areas where an employee has been rostered in. And lastly, we do have roster warnings that you can set up so that, say, for example, Money Myrtle's been scheduled for a shift and she's on leave, as an example. Warning, don't assign her to the shift. So you can cancel her out, or she's put in sick leave, for example. All those can be set up too. Very cool. So once we've done that, we then publish the roster that goes to Swag to say, hey, Money Myrtle, you're on from 6 to 11. That's your shift on Friday, and make sure you turn up, basically. So very cool. We'll publish those because we'll tell Money Myrtle she's meant to be working. All pretty cool, Heather?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go to time and attendance then. So I'm going to share my phone because we can do this here. Alrighty, this should appear any second. Cool. Here we go. So here is Money Myrtle. So this is the employee experience. This is the app called Swag. This is part of the Employment Hero payroll solution. So I've set Money Myrtle up to do anything in the platform, right? So you can limit this, you can turn things on, turn things off, but for the purpose of the demo, this is what you'll see. In here, Money Myrtle has access to all of her pay slips, leave, timesheets, expenses, rosters, unavailability, everything from the employee experience she can do. And she can also see at the home screen anything that she has an upcoming shift. If she's a manager, she can see timesheets to be approved or expenses to be approved, and clock in and out for her shifts. So what we're going to do is, you can see she's got the roster we just published comes through straight away. But we're going to assume Money Myrtle's been asked to work. So Money Myrtle, we're going to get you to clock in. We're going to ask you to clock into Hogwarts School, standard sort of clock in process. And we're going to then take a photo. So take a photo, and Money Myrtle has now clocked in for her shifts. So as an employee, that's what you do. I'm going to move that out of the way for a second. From the business's perspective, once she's clocked in, she's working, she's doing her job, there are things that employers and clients can do to make sure that time and attendance is being followed. So
did it track her GPS when she clocked in?
Yeah, you read my mind. So let me just move that out of the way. Yeah, so as soon as Money Myrtle clocks in, it'll ping on the map where she's clocked in from. So if I click on her name, pings exactly where she is. That's me. I'm in North Brisbane, in Capera. It looks pretty accurate. That's pretty much where I stand in my house too. And down the road, just like down here, is a great cafe. Just an FYI. So if you're ever in the area, come say hi. But we now can see that she's clocked in. Now, if I was meant to be working at Kmart at Arana Hills and I'm clocked in here at home, it's pretty safe to say I'm not in the location. So it's a good way to determine where your staff are. It isn't geofenced. It is purely just a map pin, and that's all we record. We don't do anything after that for the employee perspective. So very cool. I've got a client down in Melbourne who's got a landscaping business. He loves this. His employees take selfies in front of letterboxes now when they rock up to job sites. It's awesome for him tracking like costings on when they arrive, when they start, when they finish. And it means he can really clearly see when they are there and doing the job. So very cool. We can then also look at that historically. So as an attendance report, we'll jump in, go last month because this month's 3 days old. We can then go and look and see from the employee perspective all the times that Moaning Myrtle's clocked in and out, the locations of those. So we can see here that, you know, this one's in Brisbane, but this one's down in Sydney. What are you doing clocking into work in Sydney if you work in Brisbane? So it's very accurate in that regard, which is really cool. And you can also see the photo too. So this was me in the Employment Hero office in Sydney. So very cool. What we'll do is we'll get Moaning Myrtle to quickly clock out on the Swagger and finish her shift. I'm just going to do that on the side, and then we'll look at the approval process. Any questions so far, Heather? All pretty.
That's good. Very good.
Cool. So Moaning Myrtle's clocked out of her shift, and as soon as she's clocked out, we go into a timesheet approval. So we can see here the shift we just did. Thursday, 3rd of August, 2:46 to 2:49 at Hogwarts School, and it's been submitted via the Swagger. As a manager, you can click and edit this timesheet if you like. All of it's tracked, or you can approve it, or you can make any required changes. I'm going to say this was all fine. As a manager as well, if you want to compare it with the roster that you've published, you can scroll down and you can see that Moaning Myrtle was rostered from 9 till 5 on the 3rd of August, but she submitted a timesheet for 2 till 3, 2:46 till 3 in a different location. So it's appearing blue. There's a discrepancy there. So it's really good if you're a rosterer and you're working your function, but then you're an approving manager. Maybe you don't talk as much, or maybe it's hard to stay across every shift. This is a great way to streamline that piece. So we'll turn off the compare with roster. I'm totally okay with these shifts. It all makes sense. We're fine. And we are going to approve those timesheets. That will then push to payroll. So a couple of important call outs. If the timesheet is submitted but not approved, it will not go to pay run. So really critical the manager approves, and it doesn't ping you, notify you, hey, we're about to start a pay run, you know, approve your timesheets. It needs to be a continued behavior. If as a manager you are not using rostering, for example, which is pretty common, and you just timesheet your employees, the same award interpreter does come in and does give you indication on when the employee has started and finished and the costing associated with that shift after the fact. So you can take advantage of the same sort of award interpreter. You don't have to use rostering for that piece either. We do the same thing with leave management. So you can create and manage all your leave requests as well, and same with expenses, all lodged through the employee experience swag into payroll. Line manager or approving manager approves to go into pay run. Very, very similar experience. Any questions there, Heather, before I pay some fake staff some fake money?
Well, I'm ready for the fake money to be paid.
Yes, oh my favorite part. So, okay, we're going to start a pay run. This pay run is for the period ending the 30th of the 7th. We're going to import the timesheets for the pay period. If there are other timesheets submitted for the other period, we can also import those. We're going to in this case, just because we want to show how that workflow works.
And what sort of pay run does it max out on?
In terms of number of employees?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't really had a pay run max out. It's more what the payroll processor can handle, I think would be, yeah, when we go through the workflow, most Yeah, most payroll managers sort of determine what they can audit and review in a period of time. But yeah, I got some clients well in the thousands that do pay runs with us that don't have a problem.
Fantastic.
So all of our data has come in for the pay run to move the employee forward. So before we go into the employees, the first thing I check is this top bar. So our warnings. Okay, we've got a employee has an earning line which they aren't being paid. So they've clocked in and out for 0 minutes. For example, we've also got some employees with tax file numbers that are older than 28 days. Most of mine are for my mythical people. So good luck getting Albus Dumbledore a tax file number. And then we have our leave. So we can see here we've got some employees that have submitted leave. Leave has been approved by the line manager, but we now need to apply these to the payroll. So we tick those leave and we apply them in bulk to the pay run. It will then calculate that data and then push that into the pay run. We can see fully applied here. We scroll down and we can see, for example, Blaine Stranger, annual leave taken, 4.2 hours, and the rate for that leave. All automatically applied. Once we've cleared our warnings, we're okay with those, and we've got all our leave done. We then want to look at our pay run. So we can see here, as we showed earlier, things like additional earnings. So Albus gets a bonus for running the school of $5,000 per pay run. He's got a wand insurance deduction. He's also got a protective clothing allowance as well. They're my poorly educated jokes. And then the other employees have anything else that's applied to them. But if we want to do something a little bit unique to an employee, so say with Severus, I want to give him a bonus. Just, you've had a great week. We can come in and we can apply that bonus. We go, well done. It's 1 unit, say it's like $500. We can then select the calculation method for that bonus. So Heather, on like the ATO website, how to have that really cool page that has like the graph and the calculations for payment of bonuses over a period of time. You go through and you manually calculate it. So in our system, we do that automatically.
Okay.
So you apply method A. In my case, it's weekly pay. So we
Where did I determine whether it had super or not super on it? Because bonuses would be different.
Yeah, so super payments go through when you go into our super clearinghouse beam, you determine the bonus from there. So
yeah.
separate.
Just some bonuses have super and some bonuses don't. So that's why
Yeah.
I didn't see a definition there when you pulled it up.
Oh, okay. Yes, yeah, sorry. So my pay category is set up for bonuses with super.
Okay.
Yeah, good call out. Sorry.
No. I just know it's an area that so many people make mistakes on.
Yeah, it's a good call out. All right, let's just quickly apply this one. There you go. I like that call out. I'm going to definitely remember that for my future ones. So yeah, so my pay category is set up. Thank you, I appreciate that. So now instead of using the manual calculation, it now all sits here for you. So you can clearly see it, full breakdown. You can download this as an Excel or PDF to give to the employee if they require. And we have a really nice extensive support article that talks you through how this comes together. So it's really, really detailed if the employee has to ask. So very cool. That's all done. So we're happy with that. So now we want to get into some reporting before we finalize our pay run. So the two I really recommend that you look at, the draft audit report and your pay variance report. So our draft audit report, I kind of call this like a payroll on one pager, if payroll could be one page, and you can tick and select anything that's really appropriate for the client. So I'm going to grab a couple here, like earnings details for the employee side, or maybe grab pairway. We'll go expense reimbursements. I'm going to run the report. So this looks at the pay, the pay run we've created in drafts, and it gives you a full breakdown of the pay run. So if you wanted to send this to maybe a CFO that doesn't go into payroll, maybe an additional payroll manager, for example, for review, or for those large pay runs you spoke about, Heather, this is a really good way to to pass those over and get some eyes on it. Gives a holistic business view, and then you can go into the employee detail. So I have a client in the manufacturing space. He checks every single hour. Like, he is meticulous. This part, he loves it. He goes through every single hour worked and checks everything off. It's one of the joys he has. So you can PDF and download PDF this or Excel it, whichever works better for you. So that's your first one. The second one is your pay variance report. So if you're looking at pay run to pay run, and as a business, you're aware you have a little bit of variance in your pay runs, but it's generally consistent, set your variance accordingly and run your report. It will then look at your drafted pay run, in my case, and the previous pay run, and look for any discrepancies greater or less than that number. So we see, oh yes, sorry, go.
You point out one and explain it to me then, if you could, please.
Yeah, no dramas at all. So we've got our pay period ending the 30th of the 7th, and our pay period ending the 23rd. And I've set my variance at 5%.
Yes.
Anything greater or less than 5% I want to know about. So I'll take the top one because it looks clean. My gross earnings this pay period are 17%. My gross earnings last pay period was 17.3. There's a $260 variance. It's 1.49% difference.
So that shouldn't have showed up. Kind of, that's not a concern for us.
Not a concern because it's outside the threshold.
Oh, okay. And so the yellow is a concern. Okay.
Yeah, correct. Which is, so this is really cool for picking up those discrepancies that you may have missed in your audit report. This is business level, right?
Yeah.
So we can see a few here. If we go, you know what, I want to know which employee it was. We can actually dive in and look at the employee level and see which employee it is directly, which employee is directly driving that variance.
Yeah.
Is it an employee related error, or is it legitimate and an okay one to look at? So yeah, really cool. Good little one for a little extra cross check. But in this case, we're really happy with our pay run. It's all absolutely fine. And we're ready to go. We're ready to pay our staff. So we're now going to finalize our pay run. So it's important to note that we don't actually pay the staff from here. We're just telling the staff they've been paid, so we understand that one. We're now going to tell the system when the date's going to be paid. These are all sort of set up behind the scenes, but you can either create your pay event manually or have it automated. You can have your pay slips published automatically. You can click the button to do it, or delay it a few days if that's the way you want to go. And then we finalize our pay run. So it's going to update all our reporting, send everything through. Okay. Now what we want to do, we want to grab our ABA file, send it to the bank. Our journal entry, so this will be, say it's something like Xero accounting. You can API push this straight to them. It's a really clean integration. It's 2 clicks. If you're using a more manual system, you may need to download that journal and upload it. In that particular case, can be done in CSV or Excel. The last one is we want to lodge our pay run with the ATO via STP. We're STP 2.0 compliant. 2 clicks and you can lodge away after you've checked your warnings. I won't lodge this because I don't know what the ATO would think if I pushed Albus Dumbledore to them. But once those are done, your pay run's all done and you're able to get back to it.
So do you need to have the staff reflected in, say, Xero or QuickBooks or something like that? Or can there be none and you just push a journal entry through?
So I openly have clients that do both. The second method, in just the journal entry, is all that's required from that perspective. But if you do want to export the pay run, look, you can do it. If you're going to run payroll in here, keep it isolated. There's no need to run 2.
Why would they want to push it across the details?
Yeah, some do for reporting purposes. So some run external reports that come from that accounting solution. So they try and compile everything there. They don't have an integration with a CRM or a BI tool in that respect. That's the primary reason that I see it.
Wouldn't the top level information be pushed across via the journal entry. So any reporting would be detailed based on employee details and not, then they're not getting like all the different location details across, etc. Because Xero, for example, couldn't cope with that.
Yeah, so in their payroll, so when they have it all combined, if they have all the employee information, what they're basically looking for is utilizing that employee information to go really granular, like in a BI tool or Tableau or something like that. So they pull it all into that accounting solution because they know they can API that to the BI tool. That's what they'd set up originally.
Okay. So
yeah.
Can they access via API Employment Hero data and use you as a data warehouse as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So they can do it. It's just something that they hadn't set up. So it's more change management than anything.
Well, you would think that they could shift down to almost the lowest, or one of the lower Xero subscriptions, and thus save themselves a lot of money on the higher subscriptions, which are mainly based on number of employees. So if they use Employment Hero, they don't need to have that higher subscription within Xero.
Correct. Yeah, as I said earlier, majority of clients do that. That's their preferred methodology. There are some unique scenarios though.
Fantastic, thank you.
That's no dramas. So our payroll's all done. Let's shift into a bit of reporting, because this is where we're speaking to some of the automation earlier. So let's talk payroll tax. One of the joys of what we have. Okay, so I'm going to now pull the payroll tax report for July. I'm going to group by employee earning location. So I'm going to grab this here and pull it. So we can see here that any time an employee has worked in a location associated with that state, I'm now calculating the payroll tax for it. So I've only got Queensland and New South Wales in this particular one. We can see the full breakdown for each state. So very, very cool. And this again is all based on those locations. So we set those up right from the start. These calculations become really easy. The other ones that I really like looking at are your leave liability report, as well as, we'll go my timesheet report. I'll go roster and timesheet. Okay. So my leave liability report, if I run this as of today's date, it can give me a really clean view on what is the business accountable to in hours and actually value of that leave and loading value too, from what has been, what is owed essentially. And I can look at specific employees of who is owed the most, who needs to take leave, et cetera, et cetera. So really cool from that perspective. I really like this one. The second one is our roster and timesheet report. So this one, I'm going to put on a few different metrics here. We can show a little bit of everything. Go the previous. This one. Alrighty. Cool. So we can pull this into Excel as well. But if we look at an employee, we can see that an employee has submitted timesheets for a location, but they haven't been rostered. So we can actually get a really clean view on what that means. In the case where a roster has been completed and the time has been completed, you can see here we've got the cost and the variance cost. So if we see an employee was rostered say from 9 till 5, but they did 8 till 5, and there's more funds that are being paid out, helps with either understanding the employees are working longer and there's more charges there, or potentially a roster may need review. So really cool. A number of these reports we then drop as a report pack. So it then goes to the individual business on a frequency. So for example, you might want your pay run reports, your pay audit reports, your roster reports, and your leave liability reports. You can select the period in which those reports go out. So this month, I want the period to be this month. I want the frequency to be weekly on a Monday, 9 a.m. start today, never end, and I want these particular reports to go out. Select those reports in your recipients, a little custom message if you like, and set that to go. The recipient will get a link, they log in, they make sure to, obviously they have to have access, they log in and they can view those reports moving forward. So very cool. I like that one. Any specific reports you hear of, Heather, that are real call outs for you?
The simple ones that give you the details so that you know what's happening, but it does look like you have an extraordinary number of reports there, which is interesting to see. Are you able to star or preference them or order them the way you want them to be ordered?
Yeah, it's definitely a feature request we get, having your favorites. Most of the time we find report packs take over, so it's just rather me going digging, it comes to me. But yeah, it's definitely one that's been requested.
And so report pack. Okay, so you create your report packs essentially. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always go into Payroll and forget the reports that I like, and then click on 8 reports until I find it again. And I'm like, how do I always forget this report?
Yeah, it's yeah, you do. You find your favorites. I have my favorites as well. Like my roster v timesheet is one of my favorites. I love that one and talking the differences there. It's yeah, it's one I see clients use quite frequently too. So you're right. Everyone has their favorites.
Yeah, absolutely. I did a fraud webinar yesterday, and they said one of the things you should always check in employees is their leave balances and sort it. And the person who has the highest amount of leave not taken, make sure they're not committing fraud. Because the person who never takes holiday is the person committing fraud.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Submit 2 weeks of leave. Submit 2 weeks of leave after this call now.
Pardon?
I said, better submit 2 weeks of leave after this call.
No, it's the typical person who has control over things, but is pushing things through.
Yeah, right.
But they never take leave, because then someone else had come in and checked the process and say, oh, these processes are not correct.
There you go.
So I'm not saying anything's dodgy is happening. I'm just saying that's one of the things that you check for fraud.
Oh, no.
A fraud test.
Yeah, no, I just joking, but yeah, no, that's interesting. That's a good little marker. But yeah, that's essentially our payroll in a nutshell. I'd love to talk you through the partnership side of how we partner with accountants and bookkeepers and that too. But yeah, if there's anything else on the other payroll side, 100%, definitely ask away and keen to help.
So are there any businesses or industries you think the solution does not work with?
Oh yeah, good question. I think when you get into really complex number of EBAs, so if you're, say, working with a company that's majority acquisition, larger on the enterprise side, and works with a number of EBAs, looking to payroll file every employee in one, that's when you can get a little bit complicated, and probably we're not the best fit, and you're probably looking more enterprise software in that regard. I think they're most times when I say we're not the best fit. Yeah. The small businesses, like when you're in your startup, you can see this thing, like it does really well in award interpreting. You can automate pay schedules. You can do so many things in that early startup phase, like that 1 to 5 to 10 employees. It's not probably the best use of the automation, right? So if you're going to sit in that 1 to 10 bucket for a number of days and as an end client, and that's it, then it's probably not the best fit, right? You're not going to use the automation tools. There's probably something cheaper and easier.
Yeah, and there's not a light version for them to just get everything in, get everything sorted so that they're flowing and growing with you.
Look, so that's probably where I would layer the caveat with you, is that if you're, say, starting out as 1 or 2 or 3 employees and you're going to grow to like 50, that's when you jump on it, right? And you look at minimizing what functionality you require and building the level of scalability in. But yeah, if you're at 1 to 10, it's probably ultimately not the best fit.
Yep, cool.
No need to overcomplicate it.
What does Employment Hero integrate with?
Yeah, we've got a large number of partners, anything from accounting software. There's time and attendance software that we integrate with. So if you're using, say, another rostering or time and attendance function, you want to pull that data in.
Okay.
There's those ones that we can use. And yeah, look, some clients, they prefer those, that their employees don't want to go through change. They're probably two of the bigger ones that we work with. Same thing with other companies that aren't able to be API'd with. You know, if their technology and our technology just don't talk, we do have an integration, but we've got it in a way that their system will happily receive. Yeah, so it's so if you do have a system that's potentially not that API driven, we can sort of export it in a format they will receive. So that's probably where we sort of sit on the integration side. Outside of that, our API is public. So if any software company comes to us and says, "Hey, we're going to plug a heap of stuff into, Employment Hero Payroll," then yeah, our API is very public. So I have a number of software partners that just query our API all the time and feed data in for their client.
Cool. What do you think a typical robust tech stack looks like? So we've got Employment Hero, we've got a general ledger solution, any of the number of general ledger solutions that you connect with. If you're looking at your client base, what are the other things that they're typically using? And it may be nothing or it may be something.
No, it's a good call. I'd say they're definitely using a BI reporting tool. So they're taking, accounting, financial data for the business, and then individual employee data, and using that in a BI tool to better forecast, to better scale, to better set themselves up for success. I absolutely see that. That's probably the biggest call out I would see from our perspective. And other software companies, if you're in hospitality or retail, there might be a really good POS system that has a great data set that integrates well with the payroll data too. Because as we know, within retail and hospo, sales and employee size and who's on watch, they're all really critical data. I think the call out is not so much what technology they're using. The technology they're using. It's like, what technology? So can it integrate? Can it cleanly pull data? Can it cleanly combine data to give a business a really accurate assessment of where they're at and where they're going?
So I'm aware that some unions object to GPS tracking of their employees when they check in, which somewhat seems illogical, but is a situation out there. So is it possible to turn that off when you log in or you check in?
Good question. So we just recommend just use the timesheeting functionality, manually enter your timesheets.
Fair enough. Now, AI is the buzzword at the moment.
Should I get ChatGPT to answer this one for me?
You can do. I might have already asked ChatGPT. This may just be my avatar talking to you. How is it being used currently, and what sort of vision do you have for it?
Look, I think for us specifically, we talk more to payroll trends. I think I have an opinion, and I also have obviously the trends too. So speaking to the trends, the AI trend is more around rostering, around time and attendance. I talked to that POS system earlier in wages and those sort of things. The employer trying to predetermine what is coming for that business and how do they best set themselves up for success using AI. So, for example, Christmas sales in Westfield Chermside. Heather, I don't know if you've ever been to them. It is absolute chaos, right? But there's certain times when...
No, I've not, and I can imagine, yes.
Yeah, token, got to do it once every now and again. But yeah, you'll go there at certain times. It'll be incredibly busy, but at other times it'll be really quiet throughout the night. So how do you use AI to predetermine when are the periods you want staff on and when don't you, to maximize that return? That's how AI is going to take these things to the next level in that respect. Within Employment Hero itself, we're working on a number of things that are AI driven at the moment in both our HR solution and our payroll solution, and probably more to come in that space with some announcements. But it's a massive part of a trend moving forward.
That's very exciting.
Hmm.
The rostering, the forecasting of rostering, certainly very exciting.
Yeah, it's definitely spoken about. It's very big part of what people are talking about.
I worked in my youth in every restaurant on the Gold Coast, and all the rosters were paper then, and it's exciting to see the evolution that has come since then.
Yes.
But so very exciting. It's always, I imagine it makes them understand what's happening faster.
Was your roster in the paper form that was slipped into like a protective sleeve? You open up a folder, and that feeling.
Yeah. But interestingly, and things perhaps were not as rigid those days, because I literally worked everywhere. Every night I had a different job at a different venue, and went in. It was the Gold Coast, so I was wearing a different costume. I'd walk in and they'd say, "You are German Fräulein today, and then you are Copacabana, and you've got bananas hanging from your head today." And that was the Gold Coast.
People going from location to location and doing like the labour hire. That's a massive market now. So you could say you're a trendsetter there too, if you like.
Absolutely. It's the Gold Coast life. No, I think you've answered all of my questions. Thank you very much.
Yeah, awesome. Should we shift into the partner side of things? I want to have a chat about the partnership. So high level. So from my perspective, every day I work with accountants, I work with bookkeepers, payroll managers, outsourced payroll bureaus. And my goal is to help them with their clients provide an implemented, scalable, really well thought out technology solution around payroll. And I'm really fortunate I get to work with some amazing people who are incredibly intelligent in this space. And that's what we do. We provide them that white label. We give them that extra support, implementation support, dedicated partner support, dedicated partner product teams, and etc. All with the same mindset that we want to help that payroll experience, because it does become a real revenue driver and a really great scalable solution for a lot of companies. So yeah, from the partnership side of things, everything is billed to the partner. The partner then on charges themselves and, adds in their services, adds in their hours, or however they structure. And yeah, we help them maximize the automation behind that solution. So that's how we partner.
Yeah, excellent. And I definitely think that in this space, there is definitely a niche to be had and a specialization to be had in inventory and in payroll. That's kind of the two areas. And you can specialize in other industries, but in terms of functionality, if you are detailed orientated, then it's such a nice space to play in.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, there's so many differences between and could they use your time together, bookkeeping and payroll, right? And as we're talking to before, and when you get someone who's solely invested in payroll and they see our product in how it does automate, and it gives that detail that they're really craving, there is a real appetite to get started and get that client into that world-class position they want to be in.
Absolutely. And every day is another story in the media about another payroll issue. And you don't want, that's so damaging for one's business brand. You don't want to be that people. You don't want to be that business.
Well, what did we see the other week? It was I won't name it obviously, it was a bakery in Melbourne, and it was over $1.5 million over a 4-year period. It was, and now I don't sit here and say, I'm not going to sit here and say it's malicious intent. It was an error, like most likely, right? I really do feel for that owner, because none of us sit here going, I want to underpay staff.
No.
They're the lifeblood of our business. So it is something we need to de-risk.
Yeah, absolutely. And have the solutions in place and have the knowledge in place, and things are tight and staff need to be paid. Oh, I know. I did have one question.
Yeah.
You did bring it up on your mobile device, but is that like a portal for the individual staff member to access their information? So they can
That's correct.
And they can go in there and access their pay slips as well?
That is correct.
Okay. And goodness, I'm not even sure if we call them payment summaries anymore, do we?
No, not really.
I'll say group certificates and everyone will know what I mean.
Yeah. Remember when you used to get your payment summary in the mail?
No.
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 Was it? Oh.
I wasn't in the country then.
Oh, okay.
Came back. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Stephen, for showcasing Employment Hero to myself. Next time, can you promise to wear a wizard outfit to go with the scenario?
That is an ingenious idea. That is an absolutely ingenious. Well, maybe we'll do something on stage, on a stage at an event or something like that, and we can both dress up in that attire. I know Fiona be very keen on setting that up for us.
You can be the wizard of payroll.
That's very dangerous. We'll have capes at Xerocon.
She's having capes at Xerocon. Oh, yeah. It sounds like, you've got the Employment Hero wizard cape. Fantastic.
Yeah. I'll have to get a hat. Are you coming to Xerocon?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. All right. I'll shoot you a message, and it'll be great to catch up and have a coffee with you and sit down and say hi in person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Stephen. Really appreciate it.
No, not a problem at all.